In the next 10 years, when you go to your doctor's office and you have your cholesterol tested and you have blood drawn, your blood's also drawn to run through one of our microfluidic chips. So just like you might be told that you have high cholesterol, you also might be told that you have a risk for cancer detecting it in an early stage. We're also thinking that we could help guide cancer treatment. So you can see if you have these tumor cells circulating in your blood, do the numbers go down as you're responding to treatment, or do they go up if your chemotherapy isn't working?
I study psychosocial factors and how they're related to health behaviors that either increase risk for cancer or reduce risk for cancer. And what that means is I study thoughts and feelings and how they increase certain kinds of health behaviors or decrease certain kinds of health behaviors. This is important because we know some kinds of health behaviors can increase our risk for cancer or reduce our risk for cancer.
We're looking at HSV as a potential oncolytic agent. An oncolytic agent is something that targets and destroys cancerous cells. And viruses can be engineered to be specific, and their natural potential is to destroy cancer. And so by understanding HSV, we can understand how to make it a better oncolytic agent.
Bladder cancer, which is the 5th most common cancer in America, has had only a 5% risk reduction in death over the last 15-20 years, whereas the top 4 have had up to a 40% risk reduction. So that kind of piqued my interest. Well, what is so special about the top 4 that the 5th one isn't getting?
I work on proteins that facilitate the replication of cellular DNA. And that is an incredibly important process because any breakdowns in this process lead to chromosomal damage, DNA damage, which leads to mutation, and mutations are a source of cancer.
For me as an engineer, there's nothing more exciting than to think that something that I developed on the bench is actually going to be going out to clinics. Thousands of patients are going to be using it, and all of this I believe is possible through my initial funding from when ACS decided to take a risk on me.
My best friend was diagnosed with melanoma about 4 years ago in the neck, and he ended up passing away about 4 months ago, which was the day before the birth of my new son. I felt powerless to help my friend despite the lofty goals of my own work. We're many years away from being able to develop the virus to be a true oncolytic agent. And I just hope that someday my work can help somebody battle and win against this disease.
And so you've got all these people working and making these drugs so that doctors can prescribe to their patients, and no one does it. And I think they need someone out there in the world that can help facilitate delivery of all the hard work they've done and make ideal care routine care.
I absolutely could not have done that without a grant. This support has made the opportunity to do this research completely possible. Without ACS, this would be completely impossible.
I have to thank the American Cancer Society, its stakeholders, its donors, its volunteers, its staff for not only believing in my work, but believing enough that they found it worthy enough that it can make an impact in the real world.
So seeing the Hope Lodge kind of began a glimmer in that perhaps this organization is way more than a source of cash that funds my research, which sounds incredibly naive, but it's good for us people who work in the lab to get this sometimes. This older gentleman approaches us, myself and another one of the fellows who were talking about our research to each other actually, and starts interrogating us quite vigorously about what we do. And then it occurred to me that to this person, this isn't some quaint, sciencey stuff these nerds do over there in the lab in their white lab coats with their test tubes, This isn't the kind of thing people see on TV where bespectacled people stare into test tubes. This was his life. Here's this guy asking people basically, in essence, if you distill all the details away from what he was telling us, he was literally asking us, how are you saving my life? How are you helping my quality of life? And if you don't make it in time, if you don't make these discoveries in time for me, how are you going to save people after?